Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Catherine and this is Raspberry Reads. If you're new here, then welcome. Thanks for checking out my channel. On my channel, I talk about all sorts of different types of books. In general, my favorite types of books to read are literary fiction, historical fiction, sci-fi, mainly dystopian, and I also like to read some non-fiction, mainly history and anything about the environment and climate change. So yeah, thanks for being here. Today I thought I would do something a little bit different, and on my channel I've done two videos now on top 5 series. So the first one was top 5-star historical fiction recommendations, and the second one was 5-star literary fiction recommendations. I'll link both of those videos down below for you. But with this one, I wanted to do 5 forgotten favorites. So these are 5 books that have been on my shelf for since childhood, some of them, if not then well over a decade. And they're books that I treasure, but I don't necessarily think about all the time. And when I was wanting to create this video, I sort of looked at all of my shelves and I thought, you know what, these 5 books would be really nice to share with you. They're all different. I've got children's books, history, non-fiction history. One is, I guess you'd kind of say it's like memoir, and poetry as well. So yeah, let's just get into it, shall we? So the first book that I thought, oh yeah, what a forgotten favorite, is Nancy Drew. So Carolyn Keene is like a pseudonym or like a ghostwriter name. I can't tell you who actually wrote these. I think it might have been a combination of people. But Nancy Drew was a detective, and these books were written, I think, firstly in the 1950s. Sure, should probably look this up beforehand. Okay, no, before the 1950s. So the book that I have here, and this is quite an old one, is 1932. So I'll pop on the screen somewhere when the first book, which was this one, The Clue in the Diary, was first published. So I guess we're talking maybe the 1920s or the 1930s. But I read loads of Nancy Drew books when I was maybe 7, 8, 9. I read them later as well, but that's when I was really fascinated with Nancy Drew. I'm sure these have dated slightly, but I loved the adventure that Nancy went on. She was a teenage sleuth, and it was always just like lighthearted fun. You can say that this is similar to maybe like the Bobbsey twins was one that was really popular. I'm trying to think of what some of the other ones were, but in any case, this is quite an old copy. I collected the sort of yellow hardback ones that are still available today. And then when I was older, I started looking for older editions in antique shops. So I have 4 of these blue edition ones on my shelf. And then in the loft, I've got a few of the like 1960s editions, and then a few of the modern editions as well. But yeah, I kind of forgot about Nancy Drew. I would love to maybe reread some of them, and hopefully they still hold up to that nostalgia. But yeah, this one has sort of beveled edges and some nice, like a nice print in there. And yeah, so each book is about a different mystery. I cannot tell you what they're all about because it's been so long since I've read them, but have you read Nancy Drew when you were a child? If so, let me know. Right, moving away from sort of like a middle grade or childhood book for a second and turning to history, I've got Popular Magic, Cunning Folk in English History by Owen Davies. This book is a book that I read for a course when I was doing my master's, and I had to do a module on early modern magic. And I loved this book. I thought it was so much fun. It is Academic? Well, yeah, yeah, I would say this is academic just by the sense that it's got a lot of endnotes and bibliography, but it's really accessible for anybody to read it if you're interested in early modern history or witchcraft, things like that. So I'm just going to read the back for you to give you a sense of what it's about. So it says, local practitioners of magic providing small-scale but valued services to the community. Cunning folk were far more representative of magical practice than the arcane delvings of astrologers and necromancers. Mostly unsensational in their approach, cunning folk helped people with their everyday problems: how to find lost objects, how to escape from bad luck or suspected spell, and how to attract a lover or keep the love of a husband or wife. While cunning folk sometimes fell foul to the authorities, both church and state often turned a blind eye to their existence and practices, distinguishing what they did from the rare and sensational cases of malevolent witchcraft. From the world of uncertainty before insurance and modern science, cunning folk played an important role that has previously been ignored. And at the time, Owen Davies was a lecturer in history at the University of Hertfordshire. So as many of my viewers know, I did a PhD in 18th century domestic medicine, but I also looked at the early modern period as well. And so much of the research that I did was similar to this. There was a lot of sort of magical elements that you could find in the domestic recipe collections. Not so much into the 18th century, but certainly this is a sort of a long-standing tradition. And I always found the sort of charms and cunning folk style of remedies versus botanical or like chemical remedies very interesting. So if you are into kind of witchcraft, early modern medicine, that sort of thing, or the early modern period in general, I would highly recommend Popular Magic by Owen Davies. All right, next up, we are throwing a curveball, as it were, although I think I'm sort of mixing my sports, but anyways. So this is Fever Pitch by Nick Hornby. Now, you might be thinking, Catherine, you don't strike me as somebody who's into sports. I am not. I couldn't care less. But this book I read for an undergraduate history course on the making of modern Britain. And this was just such an interesting book. So it's about football, and it's about the obsession of football, the culture of football in the UK. So I'll just read the back for you. So it says, in America, it is soccer, but in Great Britain, it is the real football. No pads, no prayers, no prisoners, and that's before the players even take the field. Nick Hornby has been a football fan since the moment he was conceived. Call it predestiny or call it preschool. Fever Pitch is his tribute to a lifelong obsession, part autobiography, part comedy, part incisive analysis of insanity. Hornby's award-winning memoir captures the fever pitch of fandom, its agony and ecstasy, its community, its defining role in the thousands of young men's coming-of-age stories. Fever Pitch is one for the home team, but above all, it's the one for everyone who knows what it really means to have a losing season. So what I enjoyed about this was the memoir aspect of it, but also the sense of community. There can be a very negative connotation associated with people who support football in the UK. People can get quite rowdy, but there's also something really nice about coming together to support sort of athleticism and your community. And that's the bit that I enjoyed most about this. It's been a long time since I've read it, so my thoughts might change, but I just thought, hey, at the time that I read this, I really enjoyed it, enough so that I've kept it for 15 years. So yeah, if you like soccer, football, or if you know somebody who does and they haven't read Nick Hornby's Fever Pitch memoir, then I would very much recommend it. Okie dokie, so we're moving back to history, and this is a classic, but an early modern, no, medieval classic, and this is Sir Gawain and the Green Knight. I always used to say Sir Gawain, but I think it's Gawain. Not an expert on these things, but this was such a charming book. I, again, read this for an undergraduate history class, and it's basically a story, a fable set around King Arthur's court. So I'll read the back for you so you can get a sense. So it's a New Year's feast at King Arthur's court is interrupted by the appearance of a gigantic green knight, resplendent on horseback. He challenges any one of Arthur's men to behead him, provided that if he survives, he can return the blow a year later. Sir Gawain accepts the wager and decapitates the knight, but the mysterious warrior cheats death and vanishes, bearing his head with him. The following winter, Gawain sets out to find the knight in the wild northern lands and to keep his side of the bargain. One of the great masterpieces of Middle English poetry, Sir Gawain and the Green Knight magically combines the elements of fairy tale and heroic sagas with pageantry, chivalry, and courtly love of medieval romance. So I, as I said, read this, and then when I was doing my master's, I taught. I was like a TA for medieval history, and we did a lot of work on sort of chivalry and courtly love and like pledging your allegiance, let's say, like oaths of allegiance. So this one, when I spotted it on my shelf, I thought like, oh yeah, that was such a good book, and it reminds me of sort of two periods in my life. Fun fact, my favorite film is the Disney The Sword and the Stone. I love it. So I love anything about sort of Arthurian legends. I will pop in the description below a really good YouTube video, which is like a cartoon version summarizing this poem. I guess I think it's called a poem. It's just a really good way of understanding what the the plot points of this are about, because it's quite nuanced. The only thing I really remember about this is that I wrote a whole essay about the significance of the pentacle. I couldn't tell you what the significance is, but I just remember enjoying this book. So have you read Sir Gawain and the Green Knight, or have you heard of it? If so, let me know. And sticking to the theme of poetry, I thought I would finish with a child's book of poems, and this is Pictures by Fujikawa. And this book, I believe, was my mother's. And yes, yeah, my mom's. So it's from the 60s, and I won't show you, but the inscription said that she got it on her 7th birthday, and then she gave it to me. But I loved this book. I think the illustrations are so 70s and so charming. It's like that one, and yeah, it's all sort of classic poems. So that one is William Blake. We've got Robert Louis Stevenson, William Wordsworth. I love this Eugene Field Winkin', Blinkin' and Nod one. I mean, look at that adorable illustration. Let's see if I can find some of the other ones. I think the Owl and the Pussycat is in here as well. I always really liked this one. I was fascinated by the Purple Mountains and the Squirrel. I also enjoyed this one, which had all of the months of the year, seasons. There we go. And then the Owl and the Pussycat. What a classic, right? Beautiful illustrations. It's nice to sort of dip in and out. Yeah, and yes, it's quite a treasured book for me. So yes, these are the, if I can pull them up. There we go. These are the 5 forgotten favorites that have been sitting on my shelf for either since I was a child or from my undergraduate or master's degrees. All wonderful books that I would very much recommend to you. I would say just from the point in which I read them, they are all 5-star books. They might change if I read them again, but I'm going to go with the nostalgia factor, and at the time of reading, they were 5 stars. So yes, there you have it. 5-star forgotten favorites for you today. Please share below with me any of your forgotten favorites. What are some books that have been sitting on your bookshelf for ages that you always remember, but you don't think about them all the time, and that they have sort of a special place in your heart. I'd love to know which ones you associate with forgotten favorites. So yeah, that just leaves me to say that I hope you're all doing really well. I hope you're enjoying whatever it is that you're reading, whether that's new or forgotten. And I will see you soon in a new video. Take care.